Hey, welcome back to Coin Chronicles. This is Bryce. I hope you're doing well. Today, we will take a look at some coins and a monetary artifact from the Civil War, as well as study the history of the Civil War. We will look at each coin and the important details such as mintage, grading, and inflationary value or purchasing power of the time. First, let's take a look at the characteristics of the 1861 Confederate Loan Promissory Note, which was issued by the Confederate government. The hope was, if the South had won the war, this money would be redeemable as legal tender. Each Confederate note was hand-signed and carefully numbered and individually cut by hand. The 1861 Confederate Loan Promissory Note had a size of 60 millimeters by 30 millimeters. Its composition was paper. The inflationary value is $134.91 from $4 in the year 1861. Also, the collectible value of a piece like this is from $5 to $100. Now let's take a look at this note from my collection. The note, as we can see here, is in pristine condition for its age. It is a $4 loan note for 6 months for $100. The note is numbered what appears to be 378, and the Treasury signature is clear but unreadable. Now, as we look at the back of the note, it appears to be in good shape as well as the front, with no major marks or stains. Overall, this note seems to be in excellent condition for its age, and it is truly a unique piece of history. Now we will take a look at the characteristics of the 4 Indian head cents. Each Indian head cent up to the year 1863 has a size of 19 millimeters and a weight of 4.67 grams. Their composition is 88% copper and 12% nickel as well, and the designer was James B. Longacre. Indian head cents from the year 1864 and newer had a size of 19 millimeters, a weight of 3.11 grams, and a composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. The 1862 Indian head cent has a mintage of 28,075,000, and this coin has an inflation value of 29 cents for the year 1862. The numismatic values on this coin range from $10 in good condition up to $215 in brilliant uncirculated mint state condition. Now, let's take a closer look at the 1862 Indian head cent from my collection. So, as we can see here, this 1862 cent is in good shape as the head on the face of the coin is quite visible with clear words. There is slight damage to the rim on top and bottom of the coin, and the back of the coin also appears to be in good shape, as the shield is still detailed and the wreath is clear. If I were to grade this coin, I would give it a grade of very good condition. The 1863 Indian head cent has a mintage of 49,840,000, and this coin has an inflation value of 24 cents for the year 1863. Again, the numismatic values on this coin range from $10 in good condition up to $215 in brilliant uncirculated mint state condition. Now let's take a closer look at the 1863 Indian head cent from my collection. Okay, so it looks like this coin is in pretty good shape as the letters are readable and the head is still very outlined on the face of the coin. However, there are some minor scratches on the face. Now as we look to the back of the coin, we see the condition to be quite similar to the front, as there is slight scratching. However, details are clearly outlined. Therefore, if I were to grade this coin, I would give it a grade of very good condition. The 1864 Indian head cent has a mintage of 39,233,714, and this coin has an inflation value of 19 cents for the year 1864. The numismatic values on this coin range from $15 in good condition up to $150 in brilliant uncirculated mint state condition. Now let's take a closer look at the 1864 Indian head cent from my collection. So, as we can see here, this 1864 Indian head cent definitely has seen better days, as it has some pretty heavy wear on the face of it. Though the head is still outlined, the letters are slightly blurred. Now, as we look to the back of the coin, the wreath and shield are heavily worn, and the 1 in the 1 cent appears barely visible. Overall, though, if I were to grade this coin, I would give it a grade of almost good to good condition. The 1865 Indian head cent has a mintage of 35,429,286, and this coin has an inflation value of 18 cents for the year 1865. The numismatic values on this coin range from $15 in good condition up to $150 in brilliant, uncirculated mint state condition. Now let's take a closer look at the 1865 Indian head cent from my collection. So, as we look at this 1865 Indian head cent, we can see that it has some pretty heavy wear to the face of the coin. We see the words are heavily worn and hardly readable, and the head is outlined with light features. The coin itself is bent as if it were ran over or squished at one time. As we go to the back, we notice the bend, and we see the back is in similar condition to the front of the coin, with light details on the wreath and the shield. But the words are still visible. If I were to grade this coin, I would give it a grade of good condition. Next, we will take a look at the characteristics of the 1865 nickel 3-cent piece. The 1865 nickel 3-cent piece has a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Its designer was James B. Longacre. Its mintage is 11,382,000. Its inflation value is 55 cents for the year 1865, and the numismatic values range from $18 in good condition to $160 in brilliant uncirculated mint state condition. Now let's take a closer look at the 1865 nickel 3-cent piece from my collection. So, as we look at this 1865 nickel 3-cent piece, we can see that the rim design is detailed and the words are clear. As we look at the head, we can see that the hair is slightly worn and the words Liberty are readable but not clear. The details on the face are there, but wear can be seen. Now, as we look at the back of the coin, we notice the clarity of the rim design as the front, and the wreath is quite detailed with very little wear, and the 3 Roman numerals still have fine lines inside of them. Overall, if I were to grade this coin, I would give it a grade of very fine condition. Now we will look at some of the history and key events during the Civil War time period from the year 1861 to 1865. First, in 1861, secessionist forces in South Carolina fire at the USS Star of the West ship, effectively beginning the Civil War on January 9, 1861. Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas secede from the Union. Secessionist states create the Confederate States of America, and Jefferson Davis is elected as Confederate State President. Also, in 1861, Abraham Lincoln became the 16th U.S. President. The Civil War officially began when Confederate troops fired on Fort Sumter, and the First Battle of Bull Run was fought in Virginia, giving the Confederate Army a major victory. In this battle, it is estimated about 481 Union troops were killed, and 387 Confederate troops were killed. In 1862, the Battle of Hampton Roads was fought over 2 days in Virginia. It was the first fight between two ironclad warships, the USS Monitor and the CSS Virginia. Both sides claimed victory over this battle. The Homestead Acts were many laws in the U.S. by which an applicant could acquire ownership of government land or public domain called a homestead. The first act, the Homestead Act of 1862, opened up millions of acres for homesteading. The Moral Land Grant Colleges Act was passed on July 2, 1862, which made it possible for states to establish public colleges funded by the development or sale of associated federal land grants. Also in 1862, Robert E. Lee became commanding general of the Army of Northern Virginia. The Second Battle of Bull Run was fought August 29th through the 30th of 1862 in Prince William County, Virginia. The battle was won by the Confederate Army under General Robert E. Lee. It was estimated that 1,747 Union troops were killed, and 1,096 Confederate troops were killed. The Battle of Antietam was fought on September 17, 1862, near Sharpsburg, Maryland. It is known as the bloodiest day in American history, with 22,717 casualties, 12,401 Union troops, and 10,316 Confederates. With all armies engaged, considered, there were 5,389 people killed in this battle. The Dakota War of 1862 was fought from August 18, 1862 to September 26, 1862, between the Dakota people of Minnesota and settlers backed by the U.S. Army. In this war, about 106 United States Army volunteers were killed, 450 to 800 civilians were killed, and 190 Dakota people were killed. Also in 1862, the Gatling gun was invented by Richard Jordan Gatling, which was a multi-barreled rotating gun operated by a hand crank that could fire up to 200 rounds a minute. It was the first successful machine gun. Finally, in 1862, the famous song, The Battle Hymn of the Republic, was written by Julia Ward Howe. In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863, which was a presidential proclamation and executive order declaring that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are, and from that point on, to be free. The Battle of Gettysburg was fought from July 1st to July 3rd of 1863 in and near the town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. This battle led to a victory for the Union Army, but resulted in 46,000 to 51,000 casualties from both armies. This battle involved the largest number of casualties of the entire war. The siege of Vicksburg was fought from May 18th to July 4th of 1863 in and near Vicksburg, Mississippi. The battle was won by the Union Army under General Ulysses S. Grant. It is estimated that 4,835 troops from the Union Army became casualties, and 32,697 Confederate troops became casualties. Also, in 1863, the New York City draft riots took place in Manhattan, New York, from July 13th to July 16th of 1863. It began with new laws passed by Congress that year to draft men to fight in the Civil War. Many rioted and protested, leading to 119 to 120 deaths. Part of Virginia is admitted to the Union to become West Virginia, and President Lincoln announced the 10% Plan, which was a program that would allow Confederate states to establish new state governments after 10% of their male population took oaths, and the states had to recognize the freedom of previously enslaved people. Also in 1863, The first breakfast cereal, granola, was invented by James Caleb Jackson. In 1864, General Ulysses S. Grant is put in command of all Union forces. The Wade-Davis Bill of 1864 is passed to guarantee to certain states whose governments have been usurped or overthrown a republican form of government, therefore creating a framework for reconstruction and readmittance of the Confederate States to the Union. On November 29, 1864, the Sand Creek Massacre occurred, which was an unprovoked massacre of Cheyenne and Arapaho people by the U.S. Army. It is estimated that 25 U.S. Army troops were killed and 150 to 600 Cheyenne and Arapaho people killed. Also, in 1864, Nevada became the 36th state of the Union, and Abraham Lincoln was reelected president. Sherman's March to the Sea military campaign was conducted from November 14th to December 21st, 1864, beginning in Atlanta, Georgia, with Union General William Sherman leading the campaign, destroying Confederate military targets, industry, infrastructure, and civilian property. Through this campaign, the Union Army suffered more than 1,300 casualties, while the Confederate Army suffered about 2,300 casualties. In 1864, the first periodic table of elements is produced by Julius Lothar Meyer. The first submarine to sink an enemy ship was a Confederate submersible, H.L. Hunley. The Yosemite Grant was signed by President Abraham Lincoln on June 30, 1864, giving California the Yosemite Valley and Mariposa Big Tree Grove to be held for public use, resort, and recreation. Also, in 1864, pasteurization was invented in France by chemist and microbiologist Louis Pasteur. In 1865, Robert E. Lee was appointed General-in-Chief of the Armies of the Confederate States. On April 3, 1865, Union African American troops capture the Richmond, Virginia capital. On April 9, 1865, Robert E. Lee surrenders his 28,000 Confederate troops to Union General Ulysses S. Grant at the Appomattox Courthouse near Appomattox, Virginia. That day, the two generals signed papers, shook hands, saluted each other. The remaining Confederate soldiers laid their weapons down and returned home over the next 3 days. On April 14, 1865, President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated by stage actor John Wilkes Booth. While attending the play Our American Cousin at the Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., he was shot in the head while watching the play and died the next day from his injuries. The 13th Amendment was passed abolishing slavery in the United States, and the Civil War came to an end after the last of the Confederacy surrenders, leaving 620,000 people killed, 476,000 people wounded, and about 400,000 people captured or missing. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it to be interesting. For more videos, please like and subscribe. Also, I would like to give you the opportunity to try handmade bar soap from Prairie Scent Company, my small business in California. If you are interested, please click the link in the description and you will be led to Prairie Scent Company's website to shop. Thank you, and keep on collecting. Have a great day.